Welcome back to the Gothic Party. Today I'm going to tell you about The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. This is what I found in Edgar Allan Poe's complete works first. It's ranked as number 2 on the list of the most popular Edgar Allan Poe books according to Goodreads. Besides that, the last time I read this story was in 7th grade, and I remember really enjoying it. I found it very atmospheric, not necessarily spooky, but I could see where it gave you a little insight into like a tortured, altered mental state. And I could see the horror element in being someone who suddenly views the world so differently than everyone else. And those views slowly driving you further and further into your own inner world. Spoilers for The Telltale Heart ahead. If you haven't read these works by Edgar Allan Poe and you want to be surprised by them, I would read them before going further with this review. Truthfully, they're done so many times in modern media that you're probably familiar with it even if you haven't connected it with the title. And I think since Poe's work is so atmospheric versus plot-driven, you can get the same sense of atmosphere whether or not you know what's going to happen. So the first thing that struck me about The Telltale Heart is that it's a really slow, almost torturously long opening. The part I remember about this story is the beating of the heart within the walls, and I remember that slowly driving the man mad. And I could have sworn that the heart beating part happened like over the course of several days, maybe even weeks, before the guy couldn't take it anymore. So I was really surprised when I was reading this to find out the reverse situation was true. Him planning to kill this old man happened for the majority of the story. Him watching this guy, trying to trick him into a false sense of security, him being nice to him, pretending that he cares, and we get to hear like this guy's long rambles about why he doesn't like the old man. Apparently it has something to do with the guy's eyes. We don't really know the relationship between the old man and the narrator. I can't tell you if he's like his son or if he's a hired caregiver or what the deal is with him. The whole time in the story he just calls this guy the old man. There's apparently an inheritance issue within the story, but the guy assures us that's not why he kills the man. I don't know about that. Anyways, the part with the actual supernatural beating of the Telltale Heart is very short. The police come the same night he murders the guy, and they're sitting and talking in the room where he's buried the man after he thinks he's already gotten away with it, and they're just chatting freestyle. That's when he hears the beating of the heart, and he flies into madness and ignites his car. It's still really good. I still enjoyed it. It's just weird how mentally your perception of what was the longer part is different than what the reality was within the story. I still really like The Telltale Heart. I think the guy having a hard time with the heart beating the floor is a little bit silly. I've always thought that because I find heartbeats really comforting. I actually like listening to heartbeats like to fall asleep, or like I enjoy being close to Willow and like having my hand on her chest while she's doing her breathing, and I can get her breaths in and out, and I can feel her heart going, and that's been very soothing me, helped me on to sleep right away. I guess it would be creepy to hear a heart beating when you know that you've stabbed someone and killed them, but I don't think it would be so creepy that you would just fly off the handle and admit it to the police, especially if you know you don't have to stay in the house. Like if this guy's just a manservant or whatever, he can leave and never return. The build-up though is nice. Once I settled into the story, decided that I was going to go with the slow build in and everything, I found myself getting more involved in the story and enjoying it more. I knew going into this that Gothic literature does have a lot more exposition, internal meanderings that are often repetitive, and that I am personally a very impatient reader, and because of that I usually don't enjoy this, which is sort of like at odds with the fact that I enjoy Gothic literature in general. These tropes, these repetitive exposition elements are kind of baked into the premise of most Gothic literature. I think it helps that these elements are used to explore character and self, and that they overfocus on one theme and really narrowing the story. This is probably way too much introspection on The Telltale Heart, but I did wonder if it wasn't about whether or not that guy had an issue with the older man himself. It was that this man is afraid of death, and he sees this older man with his eyes fixated on him as a symbol of death, staring at him and coming for him, watching him getting ready to take him. And because of that symbolism, he thought that if he could close Death's eyes to him, make it so that he was no longer seen, if he could escape aging and his own end. Now, that might be way too much introspection into the telltale heart, but it was just one thing that struck me as odd, just this continual focus on the eye and the man being old. And otherwise, the man is perfectly pleasant. So I just wondered if there's something like more metaphor-wise going on in this story, and if that was potentially it. Anyways, the Telltale Heart is short, it's a quick read. It would be wonderful to curl up with on a dark night with a little thunder in the background and a good cup of tea. It is readily available on any platform you'd like, including on the internet for free if you just want to read it that way. And if you have already read The Telltale Heart, give me some thoughts about it on the comments down below. If you're rereading it like me, were you surprised when you saw how long the front half was and how short the actual Telltale Heart part was? And do you have anything like this particular Edgar Allan Poe's work you would suggest for me? Again, give me all that stuff in the comments down below. I would love some recommendations to come out of this. I haven't read that many horror stories since this channel has been open, but I do have a horror stories playlist that you can find here for other things that I've read that are sort of in this genre or wheelhouse. And if you guys are enjoying the Gothic Party, know there's more to come. Please consider subscribing so you'll be the first to know when more content comes up. It really helps me out when you guys join the group. And as always, keep reading. Bye!